everybody, welcome back to Swift Lessons for another by request song tutorial. In today's session, I'm going to be breaking down the Frank Sinatra version of Fly Me to the Moon. We're going to get started learning it as a chord melody arrangement, and then from there I'm going to break down the chords and some strumming options so that way you can perform it as a vocalist. Of course, I have a full PDF study guide at patreon.com/swiftlessons. Join me there and you can gain access to a ton of extra resources for all my popular YouTube guitar lessons, such as backing tracks, chord sheets, tablatures, PDF study guides, and also Sound Slice. Now, let's take a close look at the fretboard. I'm gonna play through the entire arrangement for you, and then we can move on to the instructional segments. Let's get started.
Fly me to the moon and let me play upon the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. Yes, in other ways, or in other ways. Yes, in other ways. In other words, I love you.
Let's break that down. Okay, close look at the fretboard, getting started breaking down our chord melody intro. Today I'm jamming on this beautiful nylon string guitar. It is the GK Studio Negra by Cordoba. I got this yesterday at Rudy's Music Store in NYC, and I am quickly falling in love with this guitar. It's absolutely awesome. So I'm gonna put a link down in the description to the Sweetwater page for this guitar. All right, now getting into the intro, we're gonna break it up into 6 lines of music, starting with an optional diminished intro that I use to set the mood. It sounds like this. Okay, so that started off sliding on the low E string. You can slide from the 12th fret down, then play the open E string. Next, we're going to ascend up the fretboard. The chord shapes are as follows: E dominant 7, that's 2, 4, 3, 4. The E7 shape rooted off of the D string. Next, we're going to go up to a diminished shape. It's going to be a G sharp diminished. That's a zigzag shape, 6, 7, 6, 7. Now the cool thing about these diminished chords, these full diminished chords, is that you can move them by minor thirds, and it's going to be the exact same harmony. You're just kind of rearranging the intervals. Okay, so you can always do that whenever you have a diminished chord shape. All right, so now we're gonna try to kind of make this pseudo Raschiato effect. All right, strumming through the chord and then grabbing the high E string with the middle finger, hybrid picking. All right, and then next I invite you to kind of alternate back and forth between these chord shapes. One more time. And then just stop right there in the 12th fret position. Okay, that's going to be the perfect chord to create a cliffhanger and then get ourselves into line number 1 of our official chord melody intro. Okay, this is the next part, getting ourselves into that iconic melody. Okay, it's a little complicated, but it's definitely approachable and obtainable. So we're starting off hitting an A minor 7 chord shape. That's frets 0, 5, 5, 5, 8. It's very, very helpful to picture the other positions of the A minor 7 or A minor bar chord shapes, and also the overlapping A natural minor scale where this melody is being born from. So you're going to strum that chord, and that gives us our first melody note, 8th fret high E string. Then we're going down to 7, 5, 8, and then that moves us into the D minor 7 harmony. That's going to be frets 5, 7, 5, 6, a bar chord shape. Let that ring a little bit before moving into this diminished shape. So I strummed the D minor 7 chord shape, then played 8th fret with the pinky on the B string, and then I slide up a full step and grab myself F sharp diminished 7. That's going to be frets 9, 10, 8, 10, and then I'm going to grab the 8th fret of the high E string for my melody note. All right, that's tricky, but totally worth it and very, very gratifying to get down. One more time. D minor 7, 8 diminished, 8 on the high E, and then the next measure. Moving ourselves down to C major 7. So that began strumming a G dominant 7 chord, bar chord shape. That's frets 10, 12, 10 with the bar, 12. Next 10 on the B string by itself. If you want, you can just vibrato that note before playing these beautiful little harmonies here. Okay, so right there I'm fretting 9, 10, 8. Then 6, 7, 6, D, G, and B strings. So all right, before playing C major 7, 3 on the A, 2 on the D, and then all open strings underneath that. Okay, that's your first line of music. Let's play it real slow and see if you can get it down. Getting started with the A minor 7, D minor 7, diminished, G7, C major 7. Now here I like to throw in an optional little lick just to grab the attention of my listener. All right, so I strummed 9, 8, and 7 together, and then did a hammer pull 7, 8, 7. Then I'm going to go down that arpeggio, 8, 9, 10. All right, and then play a little on the D string there. So. Okay, you add it into context. Let it ring in. All right, that gets us back into the melody. We're gonna play F major 7. Okay, so the F major 7 chord, that's gonna be frets 8, 10, 9, 10. Every single major 7 bar chord in the book, rooted off of the A string. That's important because we're going to recycle it in a second. So strum the chord, then pluck the B string by itself, 8-8 using the bar, D minor 7, same thing, then C major 7, recycling that chord shape, putting it on the 3rd fret position, and then same thing, strumming it and then plucking the B string. So far you have. Alright then, let's get spicy with it. Alright, so there I played B half diminished. Frets 2, 3, 2, 3. Strum that chord nice and slow. Open high A. And then 1 sliding up to 5. Before setting up the next movement and the next line of tablature by striking the low E string. Okay, put all of line number 2 together. It should sound like this. Nice and slow, back to the melody. Okay, and lines 1 and 2 together. Here's what we have so far in this chord melody intro. The lick. F major 7. Alright, now we have the next line of tablature, which one more time is going to look and sound like this. Alright, so I'm taking some liberties with this. It's also going to get us into... Alright, the next chord change as well. So I began striking that low E string, that's how we ended line 2. Then we're going to grab a piece of E7, 4, 3, 4, before going down to the 1st fret of the high E string. 1, 0, 3, 5, 0, A minor, add 9. I arpeggiated it, 0, 2, 4, 1. And then bar with the index finger, maintaining 4th fret of the G string. Alright, to switch it to the A add 9 chord. Now we're able to do this because we're going to be moving to D minor 7. It's very common for songwriters to throw in a major before going to the minor 4 chord in a given key. Okay, this is called a secondary dominant, because A or A7 is going to be the 5 chord to D, all right, which is something that you can always throw in to sweeten up and make your progressions more interesting. Okay, so one more time. 0, 2, 4, 1, strum to the major. Next, we're moving to D minor 7. We're gonna play this beautiful little passage. Alright, and that gets us into the next line of tablature. So D minor 7 chord, we're going to play this in a very interesting grip. We have frets 5, 3, 5, 3, and then we have 5 on the high E string as well. We can create the melody out of it. Hit the root note, strum the D to the B string, and then 5, 5 on the high E string. Alright, then we're going to walk down to G7 sharp 5, okay, and the next line of tablature. Okay, you put all that together and we have, starting from the E7 chord shape, see if you can throw in a little slide away off this chord, a nice little touch here. Alright, then the D minor 7 melody. And into the next line where we're gonna play. And then right there, that last chord, D minor 7, is the next line of tablature. Okay, so that began with a G7 sharp 5 chord. We hit the root note, then strum through, frets 3, 3, 4, 4. Next, we're gonna play. That was G sharp diminished 7 with a little melody note, moving to C add 9. So this took a lot of practice getting into this shape. Basically what you're gonna do is bar the 6th fret, D to high E, grab 7th fret of the G and the high E string, and also 8th fret of the high E, so that way you can strum through, and then go down a half step to create that melody. All right, that ends on the 7th fret of the high E string before strumming C add 9. Frets 3, 2, 0, 3, 3. Following that, we have this beautiful embellishment on the original melody. All right, with a slide away at the end, that was 1 to 0, with a pull off, 3, 1, 0, 5. I like to kind of slide away before. All right, I picked through a C sharp diminished 7 chord. That's frets 4, 5, 3, 5. Now remember, all these diminished chord shapes, we can move them by minor thirds, so up 4 frets. So I'm playing, then taking it up, so that way my middle finger's on fret 7, and strumming through again with that pseudo raschiato once again. All right, so far in this line of tablature we have then we're going back to D minor 7. Here's the next line of tablature. All right, and then that will get us into our sung verses and choruses. Okay, so I started off walking up to a D minor 7 chord. All right, I like to play 0, 4, then I'm striking the 5th fret of the A string and then strumming a D minor 7 chord shape. So I'm fretting 5, 3, 5, 6. This is the kind of typical bossa nova version of the D minor 7 chord shape, and it's movable. You can use it to play every single minor 7 chord. So, walk down again to the G7 sharp 5. I like to strum through that chord aggressively before. All right, playing this intense G7 flat 9 chord. All right, I know it's a lot of chords, but this is going to be totally worth it when you get it down. So we're gonna strum through. That's gonna be frets 10, 9, 10, 9. Think about your basic dominant 7 chord right here. You're just adding a flat 9 to it. So, then go down to fret number 8 of the B string. Before, nice and simple. All right, we're back to that major 7 chord shape. C sharp major 7, and then down a half step, resolving to C major 7. All right, from there, we're just gonna set up the change into our sung verse where we're gonna play. All right, B minor 7, start off hitting the low E string, then arpeggiate the chord, 7, 7, 7, 7, and then strum, E7, flat 9, and now you know that shape because we just played it off of the G note root. All right, you put that final line of music together and it should sound like this.
Fly me to the moon.
All right, so on and so forth. All right, now let's see if we can play through the entire chord melody intro, and that's gonna give you plenty to practice over the course of this week. Should sound like this. D minor 7. into the next part of this lesson. Verse number 1, now we're switching to rhythm guitar and singing.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Okay, breaking that down. Basically, we have one measure per chord, but there's a couple of split measures in there. We're starting off with an A minor 7 chord shape. We're gonna comp on each of these chords, but there's a lot of different rhythm options. All right, but I like the comp. We're gonna play chop, 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 chop. Strumming through those chords, making sure to squeeze the hand so that way each of those chords is going to be short and detached, staccato. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to D minor 7. Again, 4 beats there.
Fly me to the moon and let me.
Okay, then we're on to G dominant 7. Frets 3, 3, 4, 3. And I love playing this chord with my thumb in the bass note.
Play among the stars.
All right, here we're going to take a page out of Jobim's book, okay, the famous bossa nova player. We're going to play a C major 7, 1, 2, then a G flat 7, flat 5 chord. This is optional, but it's full of flavor. Frets 2, 2, 3, 2 with the index finger, and you might remember this chord from my Girl from Ipanema guitar lesson. All right, so just kind of throw that in there as a sneak attack chord change. All right, then we're on to line 3 of the verse, where we're gonna have F major 7.
Let me see what spring is like on a Jupiter and Mars.
Okay, so F major 7, frets 1, 2, 2, 1. Making sure the A string and the high E string are going to be muted. Then B minor 7, flat 5, also known as B half diminished. Switch to an E dominant 7 chord. You can play it in the open position, or right here in a C shape, frets 7, 6, 7, 5. Just a C7 chord shape, moved up to the key of E. All right, from there, very simple. We're just gonna play A minor 7 again. Some players might like to throw in A minor 7 to A dominant 7, but I really love this alternative. Throwing in an A sharp diminished 7 chord. That's gonna add some tension and then drive us into the chorus where we have D minor 7. Okay, so this chord shape, that's going to be frets 6, 5, 6, 5. All right, the E, D, G, and B. All right, so many great chords in this song. You put all that together and we have the verse sections.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on
E7,
a Jupiter and Mars.
All right, and you can throw in the open E string before going to that last chord. All right, that's a cool little touch. Now, into the chorus section. It's gonna sound like this.
In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me.
All right, in the last little section there's a lot of different options in terms of what turnaround chords you use. But we started off with the D minor 7 chord that you already know. We can just play it as a bar. A 1, 2, 3, 4. G7 bar chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're gonna get fancy with it here. E minor 7. A lot of players just go right to a C major 7, but this sounds way better, and it also sounds more like the original track. E minor 7, 1, 2, 3, walk up, oh, 2, 3, 4, A sus4 to an A dominant 7 chord. So right there I played 0, 2, 2, 3. Hit the root note, then strum, and then the same thing for A dominant 7. Okay, you put that together, so far we have, in other words, hold my E minor 7, A. Now line 2, in other words, G7, baby. And now we're gonna end the chorus and get ourselves back to the verse. C major 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here are your options. You can play the B minor 7 flat 5, and then go to E7. All right, that'll drive us back home to A minor 7. Or we can play B minor 7 to that E7 flat 9 chord, just like we did before, to get ourselves into these sung sections. Okay, that would sound like this. In other words, baby, kiss me. All right, into verse number 2. That's going to be verbatim. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. I love arpeggiating that G flat 7 flat 5 chord before going to the F major 7. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. All right, then chorus number 2. I like to switch things up here and then add a nice little end in. So we're gonna play it verbatim starting off. In other words, please be E minor 7 true. Yes, in other words. Now we can bounce back and forth between D minor 7 and G7. In other words, we can go to the E minor change. In other words, yes, in back to D minor 7. Other words, G dominant 7. I love. Now we need to close up shop. Check it out. All right, a great way to end this song. Again, this is kind of my interpretation of the tune, so you can take from this what you will. I'm having the C major 7 chord arpeggiating, moving my root note up so it turns it into a C sharp diminished, going up to the D minor 7 chord, then playing that intense G dominant 7 sharp 5 that we learned earlier before, recycling that F major 7 chord shape and bringing it up to C, frets 8, 9, 9, 8. From there you can play this optional lick. All right, so I strum a little piece of the C major 7 chord. All right, so that is 9, 8, 7. Next we're gonna descend, pulling off 10, 8, 7. All right, then the B string, 10, 8, 6, 5, G string, back to the B string 5th fret. You put that together, we have. Before strumming or sliding up in to a C6 chord. Probably C6 add 9 is the right name for this chord. That's frets 3, 2, 2, 3, 3. All right, you put that together and we have the ending of the tune. Just like that, you're ready to perform.